Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Deraney, and I'm your host. Hey, Scott, it's good to see you.
Hey, Drew, glad to be here.
So it's great when I look at my calendar and I see, podcast scheduled and I double click to see, remind myself who it is. This morning I got this cool visceral reaction, like I can't wait to talk with him, because we've spoken I think once, and it made an impact on me, speaking with you, and so I'm glad you were able to come on.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity.
Right. So life as we know it is not linear. So
Right.
I'm sure you've had some type of winding road to get to where you are now. And we always have challenges we need to overcome, and you've done that. Can you tell me and the audience, and start wherever you want in your life, what led up to your defining moment to be who you are now?
Yeah. I think like every, entrepreneur and really every person in life, it's never a straight line from point A to point B.
Right.
It's always, something new gets thrown into our path, some challenge, some obstacle that we have to overcome. Obviously I could probably go on for hours talking about a lot of that meandering path, but I really think for me, there were really kind of two.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the first company that I had was an IT business. I started that back in September of 2004.
Okay.
Really just kind of dove into that. Everybody was, friends, family, people were calling me, hey, can you help me with this computer problem? So I'm like, well, if they're going to call and ask, like, okay, I'm going to start a business, make money at it, right?
Absolutely.
So, I didn't know what I didn't know at that point in time, getting the business started and just doing all kinds of things and stuff like that. But I quickly figured out a lot of that stuff, and including marketing and, sales and just, then of course the taxes, all that kind of stuff. And, and I really just kind of like dove headfirst into getting that business off the ground and making it successful. And I was able to do that. Really kind of by about 2016-ish, I was starting to get burnt out with technology, fixing computers, all of that type of stuff.
Right.
It just wasn't fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I kind of stuck with the grind, for the next couple of years.
Right.
And then finally, I took a vacation in late 2017.
That's a milestone in and of itself. You took a vacation as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I timed it just right because I took it between Christmas and New Year. So
Good.
a typical slow time for our business.
Sure.
And so I went to Arizona and I met up with a former college roommate and his wife.
Okay.
And we went out for supper one night and started having a conversation. And of course, he knew that I had a master's degree in teaching, that I love to teach. And he also knew that I had experience in a particular software, the company that they worked. And he was like, our company is desperate for onboarding coaches. They need people to teach people how to use this software, how to do marketing in their business, because they married together there. And it's like, that sounds like a great opportunity.
Right.
And of course, I had been an avid student of marketing for quite some time. And I just really was passionate about it. I loved learning more and more about it. And I really enjoyed seeing what other businesses were doing, and how it was working for them.
Right.
And so I quickly became a certified consultant with that company and started teaching their new users how to use the software.
Okay.
So really dove headfirst into that in 2018, kind of stepped away from the day-to-day operations of my IT business, turned it over to lead technician there. and I was just having a blast.
Hmm.
And so for about the first 8 months, I was working directly as a contractor for the CRM company. And then I caught the attention of a marketing agency that is one of the lead resellers of this software.
Okay.
And so they have their own program all built out, and they were looking for somebody to help do basically the same type of work that I was doing, working with their clients, teaching them how to use the software, their specific marketing campaigns, things like that. And so I ended up working practically full time as a contractor
Right.
for this marketing agency.
Okay.
So then, April the 1st of 2019, yes,
April
April Fool's
Fools.
Day,
Oh boy. Okay.
they actually offered me a full-time position. So
Oh
that's when I
wow.
started full-time with
Mhm.
this marketing agency. And so I continued, kind of doing the same thing, moved into more of a leadership management type role, kind of helping to grow that division of the company. And things were going pretty well. And then in February of 2021, I suddenly got let go.
Okay.
So you think like, oh, everything's going great. Like I find kind of like this dream position outside of my IT business. I was getting burnt out on
Mhm.
that. You start doing the teaching and the educating that you love, and then you get a full-time gig, kind of doing the things that you love. Although part of me was still missing the entrepreneurship.
So do you think that the whole pandemic thing kind of got that's one of the reasons why they let you go because their business slowed down, or
No,
did
the
they even
pandemic
know
had
that?
absolutely nothing
Nothing to
to
do
do
with
with it.
it.
As a matter of fact, their business actually grew
It
during the
did. Okay.
pandemic.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
so like part of me still had the bug of like, hey, I really want to be my own boss.
Sure.
I want to run my own business
But you
because
can avoid stuff like that, getting let go.
yeah,
That's one of the reasons why we all go into entrepreneurship, so we are not at
yeah,
somebody else's mercy, right?
exactly. But like I think like once you've had the bug of being your own boss and being an
Yes.
entrepreneur, like you
Yes.
can't really get rid of that.
Nah.
So it I had kind of been thinking about leaving and going
Mhm.
out on my own anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
But I really did enjoy the work that I was doing.
Right.
And there was a situation that kind of happened where I expressed my dissatisfaction with kind of what was going on, and that ultimately led to my being let go,
Okay.
basically because that company has a no drama clause in their like
Oh, interesting.
values and everything, which
Yeah.
um was rather interesting. But I took that and I just ran with it. I was like, I really have wanted to get back out and be my own boss. Here's
Mhm.
my opportunity.
Right. Absolutely.
And kind of going back even further. So when I first started my IT business back in 2004, I had a full-time job at the time.
Okay.
So I kind of started it off
You're
as a
doing
side
both.
gig,
Right.
and I ended up moving between a couple of different jobs. And finally, I got fired from the last position
Hmm.
that I'd taken locally, and that was a sink or swim moment for me with
Yeah.
my computer business. It's like,
Sure.
like, hey, it's time to go all in, and like make this thing happen. And so I kind of used this opportunity in 2021 with the same mindset. Like,
Okay.
this is my sign. You need to go all in on what you want to do.
Okay.
And I've not looked back. Like, it has been a really fun journey in the
Hmm.
past really 2 years.
Right.
Just kind of like figuring out, who do I want to serve and how can I best serve them?
Right. Absolutely.
And coming up with, meeting a lot of people, having some great conversations, really being able to transform businesses with their marketing and emails. It's just been fantastic. And I don't think I would have had that had I stayed employed at my full-time job,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
And
True.
so, like, yeah, you could look at it as like, oh man, this is a bad thing that actually happened. And at the time it kind of was.
Right.
But, as you kind of like distance yourself from that, it's like, that was actually a good thing. I'm doing what I want to be doing. I'm enjoying life. I've got more of that freedom that
Hmm.
I'm looking for. That particular company that I was looking for, majority of their staff were remote workers, probably like 80-90% of it.
Okay.
And so I was a remote worker. And when I started, like it was basically everything was on the honor system, like as long as you get your work done, and that was how it was communicated. As long as you get your work done, like that's cool, and then they started implementing some of the tracking software on the computer.
Yeah.
So they monitored when your computer was on, what you were doing, and
Right.
all of that type of stuff.
Right.
And it just really felt like a lack of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And coming
Big
from the
brother.
IT industry, I
Yeah.
understand the need for that
Of
software
course.
and trying to balance that out. But it just kind of like felt like if the main thing of the job is like get your work done, we don't care if it takes you 5 hours or 500 hours, just as long as what we've assigned you gets done. That kind of detracted from that. And so having the freedom now as an entrepreneur to work when I want, where I want, all of that type of stuff. It's just fantastic. And so I think for me, those were kind of like the key defining moments,
Sure. Absolutely.
in my life that have gotten me to where I'm at today.
That's fantastic. And, you're right. It's hard to get rid of that bug. And so tell me where the bug has led you right now, what you're doing now.
So right now I really am working kind of in two specific ways with my clients.
Okay.
So one is I work with a wide variety of service-based entrepreneurs, service-based businesses, helping them with marketing strategy and automation. Okay. So how can they really get their message out there of who they serve, how they help them, and create compelling ways, to communicate that. And then the second piece is really all small businesses, practically every small business is doing email marketing. And I did it in my first business, in my IT company. Like somebody was like, hey, you need to be doing email marketing. Okay, cool. 30 minutes later, I've got this software and I can start sending out emails. But nobody told me the 4 things that I really need to know to make sure those emails actually turn into sales.
Absolutely. Right.
And so, so that's kind of been something new that I've been working on this year, specifically. I wrote a book, been doing a lot of podcast interviews around that, and just really helping small business owners understand what they don't know that they don't know.
All right. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And that as an entrepreneur, you can't be expected to, or you really aren't expected to know everything.
Right.
And so working with somebody like you to help us know what we don't know is extremely helpful. So what kind of stuff do you actually help the entrepreneurs know that they don't know with the email marketing?
Yeah. So when it comes to the email marketing, I tell you what, the rules of the game constantly change.
They do. Okay.
So Microsoft, Google, and Yahoo, those are your big mailbox providers, and they get to determine, do your emails make it to the inbox, or do they go to the junk or spam folder? Or in some cases, do they not even get delivered at all?
Interesting.
And obviously with all the scammers and the hackers and the spammers out there, they're constantly changing the rules that we have to abide by in order to make it through, right? All the algorithms. And so I've distilled it down into really kind of like 4 key areas that you really need to understand. And there's a lot of people out there today that are quote unquote email marketing experts that will give you some latest hacks that you can use to help improve getting your emails landing in the inbox.
Right.
They'll work for a short period of time, and then you get slapped by the mailbox providers and you're in a worse position than what you were when you weren't doing those hacks. You weren't still weren't doing the right stuff, but you weren't doing the wrong stuff either. Right. And so helping those small business owners understand that, what it means by engagement, what it means by monitoring your reputation as an email marketer, making sure that you've got authentication set up. So what I call your driver's license registration and proof of insurance for driving on the email marketing highway.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And then there's always, it goes back to, what's your content and how is your email laid out? How are you delivering your message to the recipients? Those are the 4 key areas that are really, really important. And, that's what I help small business owners understand when it comes to their email marketing.
So what skills did you that you had in your IT life have you been able to apply in what you're doing now?
Yeah, a lot of it, obviously when it comes to the internet, knowing the things about the mailbox providers,
Hmm.
when it comes to the authentication piece,
Okay.
that gets really technical. Okay. So if I said, you need to have 3 DNS records configured on your sending domain, most people's eyes will glaze over.
Yeah, it was hieroglyphics
Like,
speak
what
in
the
the
heck are
ear.
you talking about? But I can easily get those things set up for somebody and help them understand the importance of those.
Okay.
Also being able to troubleshoot, because computer problems aren't always black and white.
Hmm.
It's not straightforward like, oh, here's the exact problem that you're having. And so being able to like troubleshoot and isolate and say, oh, well, this isn't the issue. That's not the issue. And really kind of go down that rabbit trail in many cases
Right,
to
right.
be able to isolate where the problem really is. That's something that I've been able to bring over, not just in the email marketing side of things, but also the marketing, just regular
Hmm.
marketing. So, because you have to look at your numbers. And with marketing, the one thing I tell all business owners is it's testing. And it's not usually just one thing that you have to look at. There's several different pieces of that puzzle, and you
Hmm.
have to know which ones to troubleshoot at the right time and say, why isn't this particular marketing campaign working?
Hmm.
Right? I'm getting a lot of clicks on my ad, but when they go to my landing page, nobody's buying.
Right, right.
So, is it the ad that's the problem, or is it the copy on the page? That's where troubleshooting, comes into play. And I learned a lot of that through my IT business.
No, that's great. So what kind of numbers would we be looking at? You mentioned look at your numbers or know your numbers. So can you
Yeah.
explain that a
So
little?
when it comes to email marketing, and that's a great question. When it comes to email marketing, you can go do a Google search, and let's say that you're in the wine industry, for example, and what's the average open rate for winery emails?
Okay.
I haven't actually looked this up recently, but let's say that it's 10 to 15%.
Hmm.
Okay. So most wineries, they would go do that Google search, they'd come up with that number, they'd look in their software, and they're like, oh, well, we're at 14%. We're good. No, you're not good.
Hmm.
You're average.
Average, right?
Well, who wants their business to be
Good
average?
point. Good point.
I want an
Hmm.
overflowing business, right?
Yeah.
So those numbers are very misleading and if you take that at face value, oh, well, the average open rate for my industry is only 18%. Well, I'm at 18%, so I'm good. That's the best I can ever have. It's easy to get in that mindset of like, oh, okay, well, I'm just like everybody else. When the actual truth is, just by making a few tweaks and adjustments,
Hmm.
you can get consistently 60, 70, 80, 90% open rates and click-through rates with your emails that you're sending out.
Okay. But yeah, I'm trying to think of my numbers right now. So I'm looking at. So tell me the number of when somebody clicks, because the way mine says delivered, opened, clicked. If I go
Yep.
into clicked and I see the people who clicked,
Mm-hmm.
as an entrepreneur, the next step in following up, what is the next step follow up if you know somebody clicked somewhere on your email?
Yeah. So it really is going to depend on the content of your email. What you are getting them, inviting them to click for.
Got it.
If
Okay.
the click in the email was for them to, go sign up for a program or purchase something, something like that, then the next step is, did they actually buy?
Mm.
Did they actually enroll? If they didn't, then you want your follow up to be something along the lines of an abandoned cart. It's like, hey, I noticed that you went and checked out the sales page for XYZ product.
Mhm.
Um, you know, would you care sharing with me like why you didn't feel that was for you? Something like that.
Right. Just
If
to
your
get
click
information.
through if your click through is just simply to a blog post on your website, so you created a short teaser email and then you're expounding on that on your website, there's not really any follow-up that you necessarily need to do because they took the desired action to go read that blog post.
So what I'm hearing really is it can go back to what content are you putting in your email? What is your goal for that content? Like I have a newsletter. And if I have 4 different links in my newsletter, what do I want to get out of those links? Is it a link to watch one of my podcasts? Is it a link to buy my book? Is it a link to sign up for something? If it's just a link for them to read, and that's what then I accomplished what I did because they clicked on it, they read it, and I don't need to, unless I ask them, how'd you like it?
Right. Yeah. And really, you mentioned something there that, kind of goes against the grain, at least my opinion on it goes against the grain of what most people do. So there's 2 things there. One is I tell people to ditch kind of like the traditional newsletter. Stop sending an email newsletter. And by email newsletter, I'm typically referring to something that is beautifully designed. It practically looks like a web page. It's got multiple articles in it, different things that people can go visit.
Yeah.
The other piece of that kind of ties into that is not having multiple links going to different things in your email.
Got it. Okay.
Here's the rationale behind that. A confused mind doesn't take action.
Got it. Okay.
Right? So every email should really have one primary purpose. What's the one thing that you want them to do?
Okay.
Do I want them to go read the blog post? Do I want them to go purchase my book? Do I want them to go sign up for this webinar or this course? What's the one thing that you want them to do, and make the email all about that. And you can have 2 or 3 links that go to the same place that get them to take that desired action.
I see.
One of the things that I see a lot of people do is they put in their social media links at the bottom of their email. They have it, in their signature block at the very bottom.
Right.
My question is why?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because you've got an entire email that's talking about, hey, go check out this new podcast episode that I just released. You want them to go check out the podcast episode, but if they happen to click on, your LinkedIn profile, chances are they're probably not going to come back to your email. You've distracted them. You've given them an option to do something besides what you want them to do.
So that's interesting. So what you're saying is really take the guesswork out of the person sending the email and the guesswork out of the person receiving the email. So having one link, one purpose, then if they clicked on a link and you only had one link in there, then you know what they went to. And that makes absolute sense.
And that helps with troubleshooting.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because now if you're getting poor open rates or poor click rates on an email, because you only have one thing that was being promoted and one thing that they can do, you can be like, oh, I only got 20% click-through rate on this email. Gee, they weren't interested in this. What's the reason why more people didn't go do this? But if you have 5 different links to 5 different things and you only have a 20% click-through rate, you have no clue why people didn't click. It could be one of 5 reasons.
That's cool. This really helps me because when I'm looking, when I send my newsletter out, I look and I have like a 51% open rate. And of that, I think the click rate's like 12% or something like that. 12% of the 56%. But then again, I have 3 or 4 links in there, so I don't even know what they clicked on. So now you made me think I'm gonna have to rethink the purpose of why I'm sending out what I'm sending out, and that's a really good point. Yeah. Wow. All right, so something to think about there.
Those are just a few of the things.
That's just right on the surface, man.
Yeah, I mean, like you and I, we could go on for hours, kind of like talking about everything that I cover in my book, but it's really just understanding some of those basic fundamentals like that. It's not rocket science, but it's things that nobody told us. Like, go send emails, go do email marketing.
That's true.
Okay, cool. I can go do that, but you don't really understand like how it works and how to get the best results from your emails because nobody's trained you on it. Nobody's taught you how to do it.
Absolutely. Very good point. Well, this has been awesome, and speaking to the couple times you've been let go from work, and there be a silver lining in each one.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a couple questions to finish up, and the first one is, you're sitting down with 7 to 10 year old Scott, and you
hmm
want to give him some advice about life. What are you going to tell him?
Wow, there's a lot of things, obviously, that I could share, but I think for me, don't be afraid to go after your dreams.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to go after your dreams. You're going to stumble and fall. You're going to
Mhm.
fail.
Right.
You're going to get fired from a job. You're
Yeah.
going to have
Mhm.
bad things happen, but don't let that stop you from making progress towards what you really want to have in life.
Ah, that's lovely. I love that. All right, so you're putting a different hat on now, and now you're sitting down with Scott, the young businessman, young entrepreneur, ready to venture out into the work world. What advice are you going to give him, knowing what you know?
So, interestingly enough, I just got back from a conference last week, and there was an amazing speaker
Hmm.
there, Thomas Blackwell. And interestingly enough, I had already purchased a course that I'm going to be going through just to kind of help with, you know, things that kind of hold me back,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And when Thomas was speaking, his entire thing, and some people might think this is kind of woo-woo stuff, but I've seen it work, but it's the power of our words.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And whether they're spoken, whether they're written, or whether they're just in our head,
Hmm.
they have a real effect on how our day goes, how our
Hmm.
week goes, and what we achieve or we don't achieve, or what we invite into our life.
Absolutely.
And I have seen this as I've been more aware of it since I heard him speak on Thursday.
Hmm.
Um, I've been more aware of it in my own life. Like, oh, I just thought that. Yikes. No, I don't want that. Like,
Hmm.
that's not what I meant.
Absolutely.
But the power of words is really, really important. So I'm really being more conscientious about, what I'm saying and really trying to be positive, really trying to bring out the best
Right.
because it can be a lonely world in the world of entrepreneurship and running
Absolutely.
your own business
Hmm.
because it's not like you can just easily go talk to your family about the problems that
Yeah,
that you have in your
exactly.
business, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So but having that mindset of like, I'm expecting good things to happen. I'm
Yes.
expecting, my business to grow. I'm going to serve clients to the best of my ability. Those types of things can make all the difference in the world.
You're absolutely right. And for those people who think it's woo woo, I've got a message for them that it's science.
Yeah.
There's a all science behind how our brain absorbs information, and
Yeah.
it will believe what we tell it to believe and what we
Exactly.
think it to believe. So it's not
Yeah.
woo woo, folks. It's real.
It's
So
real. And I tell
yeah,
you, the thing that really kind of struck me, he did an exercise. He just randomly pulled a lady up from the audience
yep,
and did a live demonstration. And he had two sheets of paper. One sheet of paper, he had her write out positive words.
right,
So love, excitement, happiness, celebration, anything that was positive.
right,
He had her take that piece of paper and hold it over her heart.
okay,
And he had her extend her arm out and he used his entire hand and no words were being uttered. The room was completely quiet. She had the piece of paper over her heart. He could not push her arm down
yep,
at all.
yep, mm-hmm,
On the flip side, the second sheet of paper were harmful words, like bad, ugly,
mm-hmm,
horrible,
yep,
all that type of stuff.
yeah,
Same exercise, put it over the heart,
mm-hmm,
put her arm out.
yep,
He ended up using just his pinky
pinky, yep,
and moved the arm
yep,
down.
yep,
Again, words weren't even being said, they were
yep,
just written down.
yep. And again,
And
yep.
like, wow.
That's science again. It's called muscle memory, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what that is. And it's true. I've you could interlock your pointer finger and your thumb on each hand, and think something negative, and you can't pull it apart.
Hmm.
And you think something positive, and no, I mean, it's the opposite way around. The negative one you can pull
Don't
apart,
pull
and
apart.
the positive you cannot. And it's all about belief and what's true. I say
Yeah.
in integrity of yourself. So
Yep.
yeah, it's pretty powerful muscle memory. So yeah, none of that's foo foo or woo woo. So Scott, people are going to want to connect with you to learn more about what you do and who you are. What is the best way to get in touch with you, and what are you working on now you want people to know about?
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with me is you can catch me on LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn /A, I think it is. I have to kind of pull it up here, see what it is.
That's all right. You know what? I'll put it in the show notes. We'll do
LinkedIn.com/n/Scott A. Hartley.
Scott A. Hartley. Okay,
Yeah,
put
Scott
that A
A.
in there.
Hartley
Okay.
on LinkedIn, and then you'll know you're at the right place because the image of my book is in the banner on LinkedIn, which is called "Hit the Inbox," and
I love
obviously,
that name.
that
Yeah.
hittheinboxbook.com is the website where people can go to check that out.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thanks again for coming on, Scott. Thanks for being in my world. I'm grateful we got a chance to meet. Got to thank Keegan for that.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
introduced us.
Great introduction.
Keegan Schaefer. Yep, absolutely. So thanks again for coming on, Scott. I really appreciate it, and I hope the audience, I'm sure you did, got a lot out of what Scott had to say. So take
All
care, my
right. Thanks,
friend.
Drew. Really enjoyed it.
Very welcome. Be good, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.